Hi, everybody. For those of you who are on the patch or who do not know me, my name is Murray Steinman, and I'm the Vice President for Communications for Church Universal and Triumphant. And I have the pleasure today of welcoming you to the Welcome to New Beginnings. And I have the singular pleasure of introducing two people who need no introduction, our beloved messenger, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and our President, Gilbert Clairbaut. But before Mother and Gilbert speak to you today, I would like to introduce my friends and colleagues on the Executive Board, and so that you know who they are. And they will be manning the listening ear booth throughout the conference. So if you would like to talk to them or have anything that you'd like to share with them or ask them any questions, they will be there at various times, and you can see them around the hotel throughout the conference. And if I can see them through the lights, I'll ask them to stand up. Nerily Duffy, who is Vice President of Human Resources. Michael McNeil, he's got a lot of different jobs. He's the process leader for spiritual events. He's the process leader for the Messenger's writing team, and he is also the representative of the Office of the Messenger. That's Michael. Deborah Grail, she's the process leader for international ministry. Andres Fortino, who is the Vice President for Finances. He's the head of services, information services, and our treasurer. Richard Smith, Vice President for Community Operations. Makes everything at the ranch run. William Malik, he's our strategic planner and also a Vice President. Strategic planner doesn't really get across all the things that he does. And Teresa McNicholas, who is the process leader for Customer Delight. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Gilbert Clairbaut, one of those two people who need no introduction. And just by way of this non-introduction, I'd like to say that Gilbert was a professional management consultant who yearned to be an ambassador for the Ascended Masters. And one day he found out that his wish came true, but in a way that he didn't anticipate, and that was he became the president of our church. Now, Gilbert had worked as Director of Human Resources for Union Carbide and also for British Petroleum, and had helped the government of Alberta streamline its operations. And when he became our president in July of 1966, he began working with Mother to help make our church thrive in the information age. So won't you join me in giving Gilbert a warm welcome?
Thank you. Thank you, Murray, for that kind of introduction. Good afternoon, Mother.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the Executive Board and members of the San Antonio Group. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow keepers. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to what is certain to be one of the most spiritual rewarding experiences of your life. I would like to give a special welcome to those of you who are attending your first conference, or maybe new to the teachings of the Ascended Masters. I would like to give a heartfelt welcome to those of you in the 61 cities across the face of the earth who are participating in this conference by internet or over the telephone patch. And an heartfelt welcome to our staff members who had to stay home in Cowing Springs and who worked so hard in this last year. And of course, an incredible thank you to the people of San Antonio. I am profoundly grateful to stand before you today in the final moments of the year. A moment like this gives us a chance to look back and assess our progress. And it is an ideal time to look forward and to use the power of vision to create a better life. This is actually a unique moment in history. We stand between 2 years and between 2 ages. The age we are entering will be unlike anything we have ever experienced. Some are calling it the information age, but that name will be soon obsolete. We are indeed entering a time of scientific discovery and technological development, so profoundful that it will alter our lives in ways that we can only begin to imagine now. The past 10 years are only a taste of what the future will be. And I think the past 10 years were quite crucial. This brave new age can be an epoch of unprecedented spirituality. Indeed, it must be. For science gives us godlike powers, and we must develop godlike wisdom to use these powers to ennoble man, not dehumanize man. We cannot escape this challenge. We all have a role to play. In some way, we are all midwives for the age of Aquarius. Our success will be measured by our ability to find practical spiritual tools to enable us to thrive in a technologically advanced material world. Every one of us must launch his own personal spiritual revolution, a revolution known in psychological terms as self-actualization. A person in the final stage of self-actualization becomes completely identified with this higher or Christ self. In essence, to meet the challenge of our time, we must become who we really are. We must become who we really are. We must do this for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, for our communities, for the entire family of man. This is true whether you are a physician in New York City, an engineer in Melbourne, an accountant in Mexico City, an executive in Paris, a housewife in Rome, a student in Moscow, or a farmer in Montana. Today we all face incredible challenges. We all have very difficult problems to solve. Isn't that wonderful? I thank God for creating the circumstances that compel us to thrive and to grow and transcend ourselves and become more of that inner man of the heart we call the Christ. Whatever problem God has given us to solve, the solution is self-actualization. And the key to self-actualization is practical spirituality. During this conference, we will have a number of workshops on practical spirituality. We will be blessed by hearing and experiencing the messages or dictations of a number of ascended masters, especially the Buddhas. 2,700 years ago, Gautama Buddha said, "Life is suffering." If he were in embodiment today, I suspect he would have said, "Life is uncertainty." Uncertainty sounds like a scary word. Uncertainty can be perplexing and frightening until we understand how to navigate the cross currents of time. For the enlightened soul, uncertainty means opportunity. But to take advantage of opportunity, it requires flexibility, mental and emotional agility, and a clear vision of the future. Uncertainty is unsettling because it is related to transitions. New beginnings mandate that we have an end and a start. But between the old and the new lies the neutral zone. And that's where problems arise. Change is not just the order of the day, as Almoria reminds us. It is the essence of the day. So let's demystify the process of change. Each one of us has gone through the cycle of endings, neutral zones, and new beginnings 1,000 times. We call this cycle a day. The newness of dawn gives way to twilight, and at the end of the dark night, a new day. Yet all days are not created equal. Some days the decisions we make will send us off in a new direction, and we will never be able to return to our former moorings. Sometimes we resist change. We get comfortable with our current state. Even when we are uncomfortable, we often prefer the devil we know to some undefined future. Perhaps the greatest barrier to change is that we do not understand that peculiar place between the end and the new beginnings called the neutral zone. It sounds a little bit like the twilight zone, doesn't it? This is the place of transitions. Transitions are times of chaos and uncertainty. These are the moments when we have left port and have no shore in sight. We have departed from the safe haven of the old and have not reached the promised land. Transitions are unavoidable. They're also valuable. They make change possible. It is during transitions that we make psychological adjustments and reorient ourselves so that we can function and find meaning in the newness of life. The upward spiral of self-actualization is energized and animated by the repetitive cycle of endings, neutral zones, and new beginnings. This cycle ultimately leads to the highest level of self-actualization, called self-transcendence. And that is where we attain the goals the Master has set for us. Enlightenment, mystical union with God, the ascension. Like people, organizations self-actualize and go through the cycle of endings, neutral zones, and new beginnings. As many of you know, that is what we have been doing through Church Universal and Triumphant in this last year and a half. I call this re-engineering the organization, re-energizing the organization, sorry. Many of you wonder where we are in the process. In fact, some of you wonder what that pesky group I call the Executive Board is up to. The answer is we are remodeling. Our motto, same product, better store. For a moment, think of the Summit Lighthouse as a convenience store, like a Mama Papa corner store. In the 1970s, the owners of the store, the Ascended Masters, sent a message to that store and the store owners that they needed to expand and improve. Mother got a message and transformed the Summit Lighthouse into a Church Universal and Triumphant. The church had the same products as before, the teachings of the Ascended Masters, but in a larger store, such like a Safeway or a food giant. Given the rapid changes in the world, Mother again got world through a model from the Ascended Masters, especially from Saint Germain. The Master said it was time to modernize and expand. They wanted us to provide the same teachings, but they wanted us to use more sophisticated equipment, better computers, and more modern methods of organization and communication. Let me quote once more Saint Germain's, what he said on July the 4th, 1993. I know we say that over and over again, but you have to know, and that's why we are doing the changes. He said on July the 4th, 93, let there be a restructuring, let there be a streamlining on this staff and throughout the field, and let there be those assignments and projects that concretely lead to the writing and the publishing of the teachings. That what is most pertinent to the very existence of the community and the education of the children. Let us trim the fat and not engage in any projects whatsoever that do not immediately lead to the practical dissemination of these teachings or of the profile of this community. Let there be a reordering in all departments and let the community come together. And let there be one point of direction and let the priorities be established. For I, Saint Germain, have lined up the advisors at inner levels who will overshadow you. You have but to organize yourselves according to the superior business methods being practiced in this decade of the 90s. I say with Moria, we march across the planet, and we shall have our day and see our day ere this decade is over. Time is short to accomplish many things. Let it be done by hearts who are eager to fulfill their fiery destiny and to give the entire world that which God has placed upon their hearts. So, when I went to Minneapolis with Mother in the month of October, I was reminded to a Bayerly's food store there, and it had walls, wall-to-wall carpets, fiber optic lighting, and in-store boutiques. Instead of music or noise, the store had lovely background music. It was beautiful, comfortable, warm. For the first time in my life, I couldn't wait to come back to a food store and bring my friends. This is a good metaphor for re-energizing Church Universal and Triumphant. We are changing the outer shape of the organization, from the parking lot to the lighting to the display cases. We are getting ready to welcome a new generation of shoppers. But, and there is always a but, we are in, or at least we have been in, that peculiar zone called transition. Things have been a little bit chaotic. When you enter our store now, there are no signs along the aisles to tell you where everything is. We have the same products on the shelves, books, CDs, audios, videotapes of the teachings. The only difference today is that you will not notice that we are upgrading the packaging of our products so that it can be easier used. And we are expecting a lot of new products. And just in case I haven't gotten this across, our new label will be practical spirituality. So right now, there are repairmen in the store. This makes for an inconvenience here and there, but that will not always be the case. When the dust clears, our in-store personnel will be more loving, more knowledgeable, more friendly, and more family-oriented. You will soon find that our newly renovated Church Universal and Triumphant is as beautiful as our teachings. As I mentioned in my Thanksgiving letter, we are creating an organization that grows out of our teachings and helps people to live the teachings. The teachings and the organization will reflect, nurture, and support each other in a Tai-Chi flow. Re-energizing the church has been a valuable process. As Lonalo said on the anniversary of his ascension on February 26, 1997, I am grateful for much accomplishment, much sacrifice, a tremendous amount of work that has gone into the restructuring of this community. Because you have performed this work and shall continue to perform it, beloved, this Church Universal and Triumphant will endure for many centuries to come, yea, even until the hour of the fulfillment of planet Earth. Setting then this momentum, setting this avenue that reaches almost to infinity, you can realize that whereas had you stayed with the old momentums and the old thought forms, you might not be here for any more than a number of years. Today we are at the threshold of new beginnings. And I say we. I mean everyone. You, me, Mother, the church as a whole, and every man, woman and child on this beloved sphere we call Earth. My role in this organization will continually change with the times. I am a servant leader. It's my job to articulate what this means, demonstrate it in my daily life, and set a standard for servant leadership in the organization. Servant leadership is an old concept. Jesus told his disciples that if they were to be great, they must be the servant of all. But how we serve changes from generation to generation, and sometimes from year to year. So I cannot rest my oars. I have the great privilege of working to support our messenger in a personal and organizational manner. It's an honor for many, many reasons, including the fact that she has helped me become who I am today. The Ascended Masters have been telling us for years to let the messenger be the messenger. We are trying to achieve that. Over the past 2 years, Mother and I have worked to be certain that we are moving in the direction that El Moria so desires. Together with the Executive Board, Mother and I are creating the changes that will allow her to do what she does best, to give dictations and spiritual teachings, and to spiritualize the consciousness of the movement. Together with Mother, we are creating the changes that are enabling this church to adapt to a changing world. Together, we are reaching out to our brothers and sisters throughout the world to form a loving worldwide spiritual community that will help fulfill our mission for the Ascended Masters. Over the past year, we have looked toward the future and asked ourselves, what changes will be required of us? May I suggest you ask yourself the same question. What changes will be required of me? Let me offer a personal observation. Some people run to meet the dawn of change. They are self-empowered. They strive to liberate themselves from internal barriers to self-actualization. They breathe the air of freedom. Others are afraid to be empowered. They take a step forward and then retreat into their familiar ways of the past. They succumb to fear. And fear, as Mother has taught us, is a poor counselor. The great psychologist Erich Fromm observed that throughout history, too many people were willing to trade their freedom for security. He noticed that some people were willing to accept authoritarian or totalitarian rule indeed. Sometimes they demanded it because they did not want to accept the burden of freedom. In a modern vernacular, they preferred not to be empowered. Such people exist today. Until they change, these unfortunate souls will never know the joy, the sheer exhilaration of the creative self-expression that comes from true freedom. Why do some behave that way? Because freedom requires you to be accountable for your own actions. It requires you to take risks. It requires you to work hard, sometimes without any guarantee of results. As many of you know, Saint Germain has been the champion, the exponent and the exemplar of freedom for a long, long time. He is the presiding master of the age of Aquarius, which is destined to be an age of freedom, peace and enlightenment. He would like to see everyone on earth win their freedom. He would like us to be independent, empowered and free. An independent person is a self-actualized person. A free person is a self-actualized person. And a fully empowered person is a fully self-actualized person. God is willing to empower you. But you must first create a condition that will enable God to empower you. So this is another Tai Chi. You empower God to empower you. I'd like to offer a second observation. We are all sitting on a gold mine. This great source of wealth is the body of the teachings given to us by the Ascended Masters. Our sacred labor in this year is to develop better ways to mine the gold and put the teachings into practice. The teachings help us activate our potential, self-actualize, if you will. And never was there time when we needed to activate the human potential so much as today. Each one of you has a gift that is so unique, so special, that the world will be impoverished without it. You may not think of it this way, but within you is a bud. This bud has the potential to blossom and produce the grandeur of a Beethoven, the vision of Roger Bacon, the sweetness of Saint Therese of Lisieux, the power of Akbar, the wisdom of a Jesus, the compassion of a Mother Teresa, and the all-embracing love of Gautama Buddha. This bud is uniquely you. We will not know what gift you are destined to give to the world until you give it. The question you must ask yourself is, how can I truly give my all to God and man? The question I ask myself is, how can I change the organization to help each one of you express your fullest potential. I have a vision that I would like to share with you. I can see a field of flowers. First there are a few, but they grow and multiply, slowly at first, and then exponentially. And soon the field is full of flowers. This reminds me of a variation of something Jesus Christ once said. Consider the lilies in the field. They are you. And they are our many brothers and sisters throughout the world who we will contact and nurture and support in the coming years. And these souls, like beautiful flowers, will blossom and give their gift to the world. And in the end, they will reunite with God in the ritual of the Ascension. I see today a vision of the world with 230 violet flame bonfires. These are our existing groups, strewn like amethyst across the face of the earth. As we grow, I see thousands of violet flame bonfires burning until, on behalf of Saint Germain, Earth is finally Freedom's star. We cannot make our organizational vision come to pass in 1 year. Every journey begins with a single step. Last year our step was to create a more loving culture. We will keep our focus on love throughout the year and the coming years to come and in the future. What we will do in the step called 1998. Since the beginning of the Summit Lighthouse in 1958, the Ascended Masters have extolled the virtues of the family. Over the years, Mother and the Masters have taught us many wonderful things about the family. They have told us the family is the building block of society. They have said the family is, or can be, the image of the Holy Trinity. One of the teachings I discovered was given in 1974 during Family Designs for the Golden Age. During that seminar, Mother said one of the functions of the family is to create a hallowed cycle of life with love at its heart, a love between man and woman that forms a circle of fire that widens to include their children and then their community and then the world. She compared the family as a shock absorber in society where the currents of Alpha and Omega can be anchored for self-mastery and where men and women can experience, make their vows together and pledge themselves to the overcoming victory of one another. Despite the wealth of teachings of the family, we have not made families a priority. But that will change in Church Universal and Triumphant. 1998 is the year of the family. Thank you very much. This year will mark a radical shift in the way we think about and act towards families, teens and children. This year we will develop and implement programs to give families the support they need and want. Today, many of our teaching centers and study groups are not equipped to support families. This will change. And where centers do have programs for families, we will work with them, learn from them, and build upon their efforts. Now, the purpose of this conference is to launch you into a year of victorious new beginnings and to launch our church into the next phase of our development. During this conference, we will talk about what it really means to be a member of the church. We will talk about ways that teaching centers and study groups can recreate themselves on a higher plane. We will talk about how the concept of servant leadership applies to your communities. We will talk, of course, about practical spirituality. All of our efforts are designed to help us fulfill our mission and vision, especially the part about helping to restore the original one-on-one relationship between the soul and God and liberate the souls of planet Earth. El Mori has told us this past year that he has gone higher, that Mother has graduated and gone higher, and that you have graduated and are expected to rise to a higher level. Our mission is ideally suited to help you do this. We are determined to publish and apply the teachings of the Ascended Masters, which means we must develop a path of practical spirituality. It's our job to provide tools for the mariner on his journey to eternity. I hope the dictations and workshop of this conference, the announcements and the social events, the spiritual experiences you have, and the fellowship will combine to speed you on your way. This is a unique moment in time. The star that will guide you to your destination is a pole star of your mighty I Am presence. When you leave this conference and sail out into the uncharted seas of time, remember who you are, why you are here, and what you can achieve. And remember the words of our beloved El Moria: onward to courage, then blame not the bard when the wind and the gale sweep o'er the moor and bound down the sail. For the ship shall move on and the port be attained, if the courage be high and the will be maintained. I wish you well on your voyage to new beginnings. May you reach the promised land of the ascension. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Gilbert. And won't you be seated? It gives me great joy today to be able to bring to you the flaming fires of the heart of our three wise men, beloved El Moria, Dwal Kul, and Kuthumi. So I'm going to begin by briefly touching on the subject and then bringing it back to you as we go through the conference. A moment ago, Gilbert said, "May you reach the promised land of the ascension." The promised land of the ascension is not just a place of time and space, as you all know. It is the time and space of your mighty I Am presence, and for the manifestation and acceleration of your four lower bodies. I have been waiting to tell you about the three wise men and what they have in store for us from today forward until our own ascension. This teaching that I've brought to you is relevant to new beginnings and to your ascension. I have had an ongoing oneness with the three wise men for many, many years. And in some cases, I have understood exactly why they had come to me for a special purpose. And in other situations, I observed that they were very close to me, but I did not have an understanding of what they expected of me. So I took notice of the fact some years ago that El Moria, Kuthumi, and Dwal Kul were in an airport that I was traveling in on my way home to Montana. They appeared as the three wise men who attended the birth of Jesus. These wise men, as you know, are sometimes called the three kings. We have been taught that the Ascended Masters El Moria, Kuthumi, and Dwal Kul were embodied as the three kings. El Moria was incarnated as the king Melchior, who bore the gift of gold to Jesus. Kuthumi was incarnated as the king Balthazar, who bore the gift of frankincense. And Dwal Kul was incarnated as the king Caspar, who bore the gift of myrrh. These three adepts served together again to unite the spiritual teachings of East and West through the Theosophical Society, which was founded in 1875. El Moria made his ascension in 1898. Kuthumi and Dwal Kul also made their ascensions in the late 19th century, and some of you have had embodiments that came to a conclusion at about that very same time. So it is significant that this coming year, 1998, will be the 100th anniversary of our beloved El Moria's ascension. For you and for me, this is a stunning manifestation of our beloved El Moria and his acceleration into heights of consciousness well beyond those that we have captured ourselves. So I think we should all be preparing for those dates and for the ultimate and final date of El Moria's ascension. And so, continuing this, the way they appeared to me at the airport was as the three kings. I noticed that they eyed me scrupulously, as if to say, does she have the stuff that she needs to carry on this tremendous job? And so that little group of words passed by me. They went on their way, and I stood for a moment and said to myself, why were they passing through this airport, and what do they want of me? So I saw them that day as tremendously powerful beings. What they signified and what they bore were the three plumes of the threefold flame of the heart, your hearts and my hearts. At the time, I acknowledged their presence, but didn't translate their appearance into something I should act on. Looking back on it, I think their appearance to me began a certain process of acceleration in my heart. I think you remember and know that we came to a conclusion in the past year that El Moria went higher in consciousness and expected us to follow him. That is still the case. El Moria expects us to accelerate our own consciousness and to make a very deep commitment to our chakras, to our four lower bodies, and to our service to the Great White Brotherhood. So that took place, and I think most of you are aware of that, but it was a very important turning point in El Moria's life and in my life, because as El Moria went up and beyond the veil where he had been before, so he also expected me to follow him. So in the last few weeks, El Moria gave me a message from the three kings for you that also marks a certain process of acceleration. El Moria gave me this message, which is of great import to your souls. He said that as of January 6, 1998, the three kings will be the sponsoring masters for all who aspire to make their ascension in this life. Thank you. He said these three kings are here to stay until certain key souls have made their ascension. Any one of you here or all of you here could have and can today tie into that point of being key souls dedicated to making your ascension. El Moria said that only so many souls will make their ascension because only so many will make the effort to attain that union with God. This can be for many reasons, because people think the path is too easy, or because they think the path is too difficult. In reality, the three kings are here to give the opportunity to every soul who is willing and able to ascend. They are extremely determined that we make our ascension. In fact, they are impelling us to make our ascension. It doesn't mean that we should be staying at home and attempting to get to the level of 51% so that the very next morning we can jump into a balloon and go beyond ourselves and go up into the 10th octaves of light or whatever. They are coming to teach us the keys to the path of the ascension. They come with their balanced threefold flames to bring our threefold flames into balance with theirs. Just as the three kings bore witness to the Christ light within Jesus 2,000 years ago, so they come to bear witness to the manifestation of the Christ in all of your hearts, each one of you, one by one. If you follow the three kings and the star of the Christ child, you will arrive at the manger scene of your own Christ potential and your own Christhood. I'm going to speak to you then more about the three kings, what presence they play in your lives, every one of your lives here, and all light bearers of the world, all of their lives too. And so you might say that this conference is the conference of the three kings. The three kings are the manifestation of each one's threefold flame. Let us remember this, and let us remember that as God has told me, all of us are destined to make our ascension in this life. The more we balance karma, the more we enter into the octaves of our own God-free being, our own great causal body, the more we will be liberated, the more we may walk the earth and help others who are not yet able to transcend themselves and enter into those transfiguring patterns that we are all required to have for this acceleration. I look forward to speaking to you further about the acceleration of your four lower bodies, of your chakras, of your mighty ion presence. Because as I see and read and hear the three kings, the three wise men, I hear them saying over and over again, make haste, make haste. For Herod would come and take the Christ child. And of course, your Christ child is your own Christ child's potential. So this is what God would have you be and do as you find yourself reaching for that great star of Bethlehem and realizing that you have everything that you have within your very own being to attain your ascension. And for many reasons, all of which I myself do not know, you must truly strive in intense and imploring ways, putting aside all other things and entering into that path that will take you to realms of glory, so that you never need return again from those realms, and you may transcend yourself and win your ascension in many profound ways, and in ways that allow you to become adepts and great beings of light. So this will be the beginning theme of our year 1998. And I praise God and I praise the flame within you that you will recognize such a stupendous opportunity that you will have received as I continue speaking on this subject. Thank you.
This is part two of our book, and we always say the past is prologue, and in his opening address, Gilbert was talking about the fact that this is a good time to look forward, but it's also a good moment to look back a little bit. And so what we thought we would do is just take a few minutes and kind of review the year of some of the things that we were able to accomplish. And as we were talking earlier, I was just thinking, Gilbert's kind of a rascal in a way, because he... when he first came on board, he took a look at some of our processes and said, I think that there's some ways that we can do a few things better, and you might publish a little bit more. And what he did was he reorganized the way we did things, took Mother's team and grabbed the high-power people, put them into her team, and focused on publishing. And so this year, we published quite a bit, and I just wanted to go through a few of the things and talk about as we go some of the accomplishments we had both Mother, her team, and then the entire organization at church headquarters. But I think that some of these things are kind of interesting. Between last year's New Year's conference and this Christmas Eve, so basically 1 year, Mother gave 57 dictations. I think that that's a remarkable accomplishment. And most of them have found their way into the Pearls of Wisdom. Thus far, we've published 53 Pearls of Wisdom, with the last 2 going to press this week. And we will start publishing Pearls of Wisdom for 1998 in January, beginning with the most recent dictations of Lynello and Mother Mary, which were given on Christmas Eve. So that's the next phase of what we're going to launch. By the way, for those of you who are interested in the internet, you will soon be able to get your Pearls of Wisdom over the internet. So that's something that's coming here. The list of publications that we went through this year, we started with, in March, we published one of our landmark books, which was the kind of compilation of and the crystallization of much teaching of Mark and Mother going back to the first conference that I can remember attending back in 1970, when Mark and Mother would be back at that time talking about the fact that Jesus taught reincarnation and what the implications were for all of us as we made our way through time and space to this point in our history. And so in March of this year, we published a book called Reincarnation, the Missing Link in Christianity. And do we have a copy of that there, Mother? Yeah. This was a great book, and it was written by Mother with the assistance of her daughter, Erin Prophet. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read this yet, but the book was really well received. Barnes & Noble used it as one of its specials last spring. And it's having a lot of repercussions around the world, and we think that over time it's going to make a great difference in terms of changing the way that people think about the life and teachings of Jesus and what his mission stood for. And when we were working on this book, Mother said over and over again she was really tired of Jesus taking a bum rap for a lot of things in Christianity that really didn't have a lot to do with what Jesus taught. And so it was her determination to vindicate Jesus and to give people a better understanding of his heart, what he meant, but what his mission means for you. And in terms of the emphasis that the 3 wise men are placing on people winning their ascension and doing it post-haste, I think that this is an important contribution.
I just want to tell you it is tremendously important because we have come to the Piscean age. And we've come to the end of the Piscean age, wherein the age of Pisces has still not noted what the reality and the teachings of that 2,000-year period has been, because of prelates and all kinds of people who were determined to snuff out the flame of the living Savior, Jesus Christ. And when Jesus Christ's flame is snuffed out, our flame is snuffed out. And this is probably one of the most difficult books that our entire staff ever produced. The greatest opposition, it was the opposition of 2,000 years of these prelates not wanting this to happen. So now that it's in print, you can shout from the housetops and tell people that this is the real reality of Christ who lives in your heart. So I hope you send this book far and wide, because we don't want to see our brothers and sisters in the Christian church and whatever churches left behind because they didn't get this message.
Now, Maury always says we march and march, and so we had to publish at least one more thing besides the reincarnation book, and so we published The Creative Power of Sound. Yeah.
This book now is a hot seller or a bestseller in South America. And so the book on Christianity, at this moment in time, the people in South America are also fighting for the Spanish language, because that was in the Portuguese language, is a bestseller over there. People are fighting now. There are about 12 companies in competition now who all want to print this book now in the Spanish language. I think it's fascinating. Make difficult choices now, so that we have turned around the things in a fast way. Before we were trying to fight to get a book out, now it's the reverse way. Now they are fighting to get our books out, right? So it's gone fast, and I think it's incredible work of Mother, her team, Don't forget that Mother's team was a team of over 100 people. Mother's team is now 7 people, and they are producing, I can assure you. 7 people.
South America to their book fair and sold an unprecedented number of books, over 500 books, which was not heard of before I came there. This is just this end of the summer.
That's right, at the Rio de Janeiro Book Fair.
Book fair.
It's also our intention that we are going to make Murray, Steinman, and Michael and Mother will collaborate and make a video of the book, The Ascension in the Kabbalah, so that when you want to go to your local bookstores, you can, with the video, present that book to people, do outreach via that. And that will be done in the coming months so that things will be ready for you, so that we can really promote that book even more, because we think that this book might be a great introduction for people to come into our teachings and find and read a part and see there is something more than what they always have been told. As a young boy, I was a Christian, I never know about this thing, so I think it will be very meaningful for a lot of Christian people to discover there is something more going on than we were taught by a Christian.
My burden about this whole scene is that the wonderful, beautiful Christians all over the world who have not accepted reincarnation are still, therefore, not receiving the violet flame, not accelerating, not moving on, not understanding that in moving on, they must self-transcend themselves, call upon the Holy Spirit, balance their karma. And we can hold up our hand, and in one hand, there's just 5 things you have to do to make your ascension. And it's just that. Balance 51% of your karma, give violet flame decrees every day, serve your neighbor and all others whom you love or who are not those that you love, but you still are taking care of them. And every single day of your life, you balance karma. And you can make your ascension. And think of the millions, if not billions, of Christians throughout the world who have never had this opportunity. And so I hope you will fight for that opportunity for all souls upon this planet who, when they get to that level of the etheric plane, suddenly find out that they were cheated out of the realm of the kingdom of heaven, must reincarnate because no one told them about the Holy Spirit and the violet flame. So please make this something that we must do to help our fellow Chelas around the world.
Speaking of the violet flame, the other book that we published in March was The Creative Power of Sound, which is, here it is. Is that it? Well, it's How to Access the Power of Your Higher Self. But these are books which teach you how to give the decrees, and they're in a very simple form, and it's the kind of thing that will show a person in a very simple way how to begin to give decrees and go through this process of winning their ascension that Mother was talking about. Next thing we published came in June when we published our first annual report business plan, and that is this little guy down here. And this was called Church Universal and Triumphant Portrait of an Organization in Transition. And what this did was it provided distillation of what it was that we were doing in terms of the re-energizing process, where we were going, the role that Mother would play pioneering the second life cycle, the role that Gilbert and the executive board would play. And it has the most interesting thing I think is in here, or one of the most interesting things, since there are a number of them, is the articulation of the 36-step approach, which actually tells you what we're doing when we're doing it. Some people just want to know, you're changing the organization. Other people want all the details. In either case, you can find out what it is that we've been doing in this particular little pamphlet.
What I thought, Murray, what was very important was the fact that we became an organization, an open book management organization. No secrets anymore. We put everything on the table. And so we don't have any secrets for you anymore. Some people are still dreaming and say, by the way, but those castles that Mother has there in California, what's going on with that? Well, so we don't have castles in California. So I hope we are very clear. What we have is in the book, and there are no secrets. We want to create this open book management where we put it on the table the way it is. And so all together we can improve this organization in a big way. So I think that's an incredibly important step. in the right direction for an organization.
One thing I noticed, it's not on my list here, that we did publish, which was Building a New Culture, was our little handbook on our principles and values, which was the distillation of the principles and values that we felt that were important for us as an organization to live by. And it explains what those principles and values are and how, that is a good way to think about them. So if everybody, has everyone seen this booklet? You all have it? Great. But this was something which is a very small booklet but very important. And our principles, of course, are accountability, which Gilbert talked about today, honor and compassion. And our values are we value every employee, we measure our performance, we have clear goals, and we are creative. So if you would like to read about that or hand this to some of your friends, this little tiny booklet, Building a New Culture.
What we are doing at this moment in time with that, and that all the field will be doing the same thing, is that ultimately we will go through a self-evaluation of how well are we doing based on those principles and values that we have created. And for instance, for our staff members, they will go in January to a first round, what we call a testing round of how well are we living within our values, so that we get feedback from our colleagues, from our boss, from our subordinates, and what we call a 360-degree evaluation. And that will help us to get feedback and to move more in that direction, to become more loving, more kind, more open. And so the first tests are going to be some tests where no one else will see what the results are. You alone will get your results so that you can improve. You get about 6 months' time or 9 months' time to improve yourself before the things will become more public and open. And if public, I mean before you will know who gave you feedback and you can start collaborating. I think is a good way that first of all that you get just information and you handle it, you get your feedback. Am I in a tune with the new culture of the organization? You can do the same things in your teaching centers. We'll come and help you with that. And when we come and help you, it's not a control, but just to help you. You know what I mean?
Then in June we also published, or July, our new intro brochure. And if you have feedback on this, because we always designed this particular brochure as a starting point that we would take and we would upgrade on a periodic basis. And so if you have any suggestions about a better way to communicate, please let us know and we'll incorporate them into our introductory brochure. But this one's called Spiritual Guidance for a Changing World, and it's an introduction to Church Universal and Triumphant. One of my favorite was published in October. It was The Violet Flame to Heal Body, Mind, and Soul. It's another one of our little mini books. And again, what it does is, I think it's this one right here. Again, here we go. This little fellow, which will help people learn the basics of the violet flame, and you don't have to lug around a 300-page book. You can put it in your pocket and never be without the violet flame. And very handy. Yeah. And it was published with a companion piece called Access the Power of Your Higher Self, which was another one of these little booklets that has very practical, very simple, and very easy to utilize teachings on decrees, which are obviously germane to our path. So in October, we also published Kabbalah, Key to Your Inner Power, which Gilbert was talking about the other day. And this, of course, Kabbalah somehow or other. Mother first gave a lecture on Kabbalah back in 1992 during Joy in the Heart. I don't know how many of you were there for that particular conference? Yeah. And it was the lead lecture of many lectures that Mother gave on the mystical paths of the world's religions. That may have been one of my favorite all-time conferences.
It's exciting.
At any rate, I don't think that she had a lot of knowledge at that point that this was going to be a Hollywood favorite, 5 or 6 years down the line. Maybe you did, I don't know. But here we are at this point, and certainly wouldn't want to say that you couldn't see the future, but...
Well, this is one of the most exciting books I've ever read because Kabbalah transcends for me every other one of the world's religions, and if it doesn't transcend it, it becomes one with it. And it's the mystical path of the White Fire Corps of Judaism. And it takes us back to Enoch, it takes us back to Ezekiel, and this cover shows the diagram of your personal self. And so you follow these spheres of light, which are called the spherot, and as you follow them, you internalize them. And as you have internalized them, you become one with them. And so you are truly on the path through the spherot, but you could say through your chakras, all the way back to the kingdom of God through your mighty I Am presence. And I think that's what the path of mystical Judaism is all about.
I think we'd like to have that. Did any one of you hear Mother Mary's dictation on Christmas? Who of you raised your hand? So Mother Mary really expressed to us all that we have to read this book. It's a must, because we are going to build our future on that book as well. It's going to be the capstone of several things that's going to happen in the future. And Mother Mary was very expressive about that. She spent almost the complete dictation on Christmas on the book of Kabbalah. So I think it was very powerful. You should listen to the dictation once you have it. It's coming out soon, I think, the first Pearls of Wisdom of 1998.
Okay, October, again, was a very big month for us. We published a CD-ROM of Pearls of Wisdom from 1958 to 1996. And what means for the first time that you can get the entire corpus of the Pearls of Wisdom on a little tiny disc this big, and be able to search for your favorite quotes from the Ascended Masters, to be able to do research. And to me, this is one of the things, along with the internet, that marks our entree into the information age. And to me, it's mind-boggling to see a stack of books, which I don't know how high it is, but embodied in a little tiny thing that weighs probably less than 3 ounces. So that was also in October. And we also published another CD then, which was a CD-ROM, not a CD-ROM, of Mother Mary's rosaries. And these were little short rosaries, and again, they're great to be able to use. Now, we had everybody in a material world, even if it's becoming a spiritual world, has got to be able to live and has got to be able to eat. And so in November we published Secrets of Prosperity, and this talks about, it embodies a lecture by Mark, which really tells the secrets of prosperity. There is a divine science to this. And then also, we have a book today that we have just received, and it was just published. We just received our first 100 copies, and it is called Creative Abundance. And so that is here for the first time today, and the rest of the copies will be here on Friday. Yeah.
All kinds of little affirmations are in this book, such as, "O mighty I am presence, enter now, occupy and take dominion over my superconscious and unconscious minds. O Holy Christ Self, enter now, occupy and take dominion over my conscious and subconscious minds." Just keeps on going with little sayings that you will remember, your subconscious mind will remember. Starts out with abandon anxiety.
Now, this fall, Mother and I had a lot of fun. We did a 12 or a 13-week radio show on WALE radio. It's called Renegade Radio. And so they had 2 renegades here. And I got a chance to interview Mother about some of the subjects that she loves to talk best about, from angels to music to just about anything that would come across our plates at the time. We always had a set program that we were going to talk about. But once the conversation got running, we talked about a whole bunch of things. And for those of you, again, who are on the internet, all of these programs are archived on our website. And if you have a real audio player, with a click of the button, you can hear all of these programs. And this was really a great experience. Speaking of our website, we have a number of improvements there. You can find out about what we're publishing, upcoming events, listen to our programs, and basically hear events from this conference the following day. And as you all know, that pretty soon our telephone patch will be replaced completely by the internet patch, and I believe that that's for this Easter. We will be linked up throughout the planet on the internet, and that's the way we will be doing our conferences throughout the planetary body.
I think Anders Fortino will speak tonight. Is it tonight, Anders, or tomorrow night? Tonight, he'll speak more in detail about the internet, and I think Anders and his team have done a miraculous work with Ross Bronson. It was an incredible effort. We started almost from zero, and if you look to the internet, what you're getting now, we moved from about 5,000 people per week on the internet to about 10,000 per week on the internet now. So that's an incredible number of people that are connecting with us, and so the results will be visible in the coming years, I can assure you that. Great work, Anders.
Now, while we were sitting back publishing, and we had in our spare time, here's what Mother did. She stumped the West Coast, appeared on the Art Bell show and did various other media appearances. And what was Art Bell? You talked about 15 million people that night?
Yeah, and I definitely had a sore throat. I was sick. I was getting ready to give up every 2 minutes because I couldn't talk. But it was a really good show.
It was a year that...
It wasn't my show.
All in a day's work. I don't know.
He kept saying, "Oh no, just stay a little longer. Don't leave now."
And then after that, Mother held a wonderful class in July, and then Summit University in San Diego. And I wonder here, how many people heard the teaching from Summit University this summer on Odysseus and your personal path? Yeah, it was one of I thought, the highlights of some of your teaching throughout your career. And if you haven't heard that, I'd like to recommend that you get a hold of this. And I don't know how they do it now, Michael, but is that coming out in print, or the Odyssey? Yeah, it is. So, and then Mother was off to Brazil this year. I think she got enough frequent flyer miles so to be able to win the state of Delaware when she cashes them all in. And she was off to Rio for the Rio Book Fair, where she did the book signing on reincarnation that she spoke about. And that coincided with appearing on Fantastico, which is Brazil's largest TV show, and a mere 55 million people saw Mother in a segment on reincarnation there. And then, these notes are so cryptic I can't even understand them, but there's something about Russia here. I guess the Russians had, our students in Moscow had a terrific seminar for Summit University in the end of September and the beginning of October, and Neroli Duffy and Kate Gordon and Nikki Jolliffe all went there, taught, got terribly sick when they got there and came back, but it was a great success, and that, as I understand what happened there, is it completely transformed all of the people who went there, and certainly transformed Kate and Neroli and Nikki in a positive way, not just the illnesses that they came back afterwards. And we cruised right after that into the October class in Norfolk, Virginia, in which the Russian students attended over the patch, as well as that Summit University-like session that they had in Moscow. And then in October, Gilbert and Mother and I had a chance to drop in on the teaching center there. And then also to end the year up, we dedicated, and Gilbert and I guess Andres were able to go out to dedicate our new church in Chicago, which is a wonderful facility there, and we have a wonderful group. And I know that Mother is anxious to go back to do her own dedication of that particular facility there.
Right. I'm coming. I'm coming.
So at Pastor's Prologue, you get some idea between what we accomplished last year and what Mother was just telling us this year, and Gilbert about what we can expect for the year to come. So this gives us some sense about where we are at this moment between 2 ages and 2 years. And Gilbert and Mother, I didn't know if you had other things that... Well,
there's a couple of books here that but I think you really should take a look at them. The Violet Flame to Heal Body, Mind, and Soul, Access to the Power of Your Higher Self. All of these are great for yourself as well as for others. This that was written by Andres, which comes from Mark Prophet, is Teachings of the Ascended Masters on the Abundant Life. It's very well done. And again, we have to look back to see and understand why we don't have unlimited abundance. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Are we tithing? Are we not tithing? Are we obeying the laws of God, or are we not obeying the laws of God? So this is a very nice booklet. This is for children, Heart, Head, and Hand Decrees by El Moria. This child has flames coming out of his hands as well as his causal body. It's very sweet. These won't be printed again, but we brought them along because they're a nice trial at deciding what size booklets we wanted to do, and I think we came to the conclusion we like smaller booklets for a purse or for a briefcase and so forth. And here's the Violet Flame to Heal Body, Mind, and Soul, and Access the Power of Your Higher Self. All of these work. They absolutely do work.
I'd like to say that the highlight for me this year was actually to be able to stand in our own church. It was unbelievable to stand in a church in Chicago. I think that was the highlight for me this year. The same thing when I went to Minneapolis. And I think we all should strive in the coming years that we build communities where people can stand in their own churches and attract people. It's a wonderful experience. I cannot tell you how much I felt home over there, just to be able to stand there and to believe, yes, this is coming true. We are standing in our own church. So for me, that was the highlight for me this year. It's a wonderful experience. Besides, of course, all the books and all things that have been published. But so I think we have to move on with our community building and see that we build churches all over the world. And I think let's go and ask the people of Minneapolis, Chicago, how they are doing this stuff. They are doing a great job, and then community building is the other aspect. Let's say, how can we become real communities? Let's say communities where souls can meet heart to heart and really feel we belong to this incredible kind of community over here. So I think that was a wonderful experience for me.